There will be no personal nor direct attacks on anyone. And I would ask that you please try to keep down the loud cheering and the clapping. There will be no booing and no unruly behavior. With that,
this is painful, and it will be for a long time.
Donald Trump, baby! That's right, this man knows what's up!
After all, these are a couple of high-stepping turkeys, and you know what to say about a high-stepper. No step too high for a high-stepper.
This is Midday Mobile with Sean Sullivan on FM Talk 106.5.
Well, Sean's a tough guy. I mean, I think everybody knows that. You know, Sean, he took some licks. He hangs in there.
Yeah, what's wrong with the deal we got? I mean, the deal we got drank pretty good, don't it?
Did you hear what I said?
So this is a brave council. I had no doubt about them.
That doesn't suck.
If you don't like it, too bad.
Last question, were you high on drugs?
Last question, kiss my...
All right, here we go. FM Talk 106.5 at Midday Mobile. Glad to have you here on this Wednesday. And reminder, too, tomorrow night, hopefully you come out, Liars Contest, the Captain T-Bone Liars Contest at the 89th Alabama Deep Sea Fishing Rodeo. Once again, through the bad judgment of the JCs, I will be a judge again out there and continuing my time down there. Midday Mobile will be live on Friday from the rodeo site and a special 2-hour outdoor show on Saturday. It's good to look up and to see an old friend, or I don't mean you're old, a friend for a while, and voice you hear here on Wednesday nights with What's Working. Cam Marston in studio. Good to see you.
Delighted to be here, Sean. Thank you very much.
I'm excited because there's lots to talk about with a brand new book out. We're going to talk about the show, but a brand new book. And this is interesting. You talk about in a recycling way. You do things you've been in the print world for a long time. Then you got into this radio world.
Right.
And now you take things you learned in the radio world and you're going back into the print world.
That's right. I don't know
that.
if it's horizontally integrating or vertically integrating. I don't know what it is, but essentially, there's a long story behind it. When COVID shut me down, I'm like, all right, I can't do my seminars anymore. How do I utilize this radio stuff and create a product out of it? What's in there? 5 hard drives full of radio shows. What do I do with this? And the book was the result of that.
Yeah, and it's What Works, and it's the 10 best ideas from the first 200 episodes. That's got to be a good feeling. I know you talk about that. You kind of look back in the rear view at those 5 hard drives and go, well, got that done. 200 episodes.
Well, I realize who I'm talking to here, because 200 episodes, you're just stretching, you're just warming up. But when we began this journey on the radio show, with me showing you this proposal for an idea, I had no idea what would happen. You know, I did not know. So when we hit the 200 number mark, I thought, this is beyond what I had thought it would be. And it's funner than I had thought it would be. And, yeah, it was a reason to celebrate. So opened a nice bottle of wine that night with my wife, and just, we couldn't believe it. It really has been a wonderful journey. And you've been a great mentor. I acknowledge that in the book. You've been a great role model.
I was going to say that, other than your much too kind words about me in the book, which were flattering, thank you. This is something that you did, and you built a platform for it that was digestible, for lack of a better word, on these stories from business. And some of it, listening to your shows, is voyeuristic for me, to hear it and go, oh, wow, that's a cool story. Maybe I don't apply it, but it's a cool story. And then utilitarian, on another side, I'm like, oh, that's a note. That's why this book is so great, because you put those things that I would have noted down during the radio show, you put them in a book form.
That's the goal. That's the goal of the show. And I say this in every opening of the show. I want to make my listeners a little bit better at whatever it is that they do through something that comes from the interview. That's my goal every time. So I'm listening constantly, making sure that whomever I have in front of me is saying something that's applicable, that's directly applicable. I try to get them out of the ether, out of theory, out of concept, into do this, say this, do it this way, because that's the way I need it. And frankly, the struggles of the business that happened to me during COVID, I utilized their messages. All these interviews, I began to apply them personally. Initially, it was to gather stories and ideas and hear people talk about what it is that they do. I love that part of meeting people. But then it became practical application myself. And no one is higher in that mark than the guy Marquise Forge with 1186 Water. The number of times, I think it was, I forget now, but I want to say it took 18 or 19 different pitches that he made to get a loan for bottling his water. And on the 19th one, let's say, he got it. And I actually began to call Marquise during those difficult times of COVID when my business was absent. I mean, it was shut down.
And explain to people, too, that haven't heard us talk about this or you talk about it on the show, that your bread and butter was getting on an airplane and going somewhere.
I've had a seminar business for the past 20 years, developing and delivering content about demographics and generational trends in the workplace and the marketplace, and it's taken me all over the country and at times out of the country. And, of course, as you can imagine, March 2020, everything stopped. So it was, how do I scramble to keep the lights on? And it was a complete reinvention. And there have been a number of things that have been reinvented. The book is the most visible one. But I began to use the messages that I had gathered through the interviews and then apply them to my own business. It was almost, I was creating medicine for myself, and I didn't know it at the time.
Well, and we were all enjoying it at the same time. Like I said, it's the applicable portion is fantastic. Also, for a lot of us, too, I like to hear, even if I didn't apply something, you talk about Marquise Forge's story. Because the story motivates you to go into, unlock that door the next day at the business and kick more butt.
Right.
At the same time, it was just a cool narrative.
It's a fantastic narrative.
An aquifer in Autauga County, and this guy,
Yeah, and little did he know when he began this. So Marquise Forge runs 1186 Water. They're now distributed throughout the Southeast. They've had extraordinary success. He was called by God, according to the story.
He sat right here and said that. Yeah.
Called by God. He heard it in his car on the way home. Marquise, come bottle water back home in Autaugaville. And, any one of us would have said, hey, I say that again, please.
Right.
But sure enough, he did. And it was after he began the process and everything else that he learned that the word Autauga is Native American for good water. So it was under his feet. Literally, the whole time. And that when I heard him tell that, I got chills, and I thought, oh my gosh, I don't know what I believe about these messages from above, but that sure sounds plausible right there.
Absolutely.
And it's stories like that. Now, Marquise is exceptional, but there are stories like that. I mean, the guy that's on tonight, he started his career as a CIA guy, and he would go overseas and recruit informants. He was recruiting people to spy on the other side, right? He spent time in Northern Ireland. He spent time in Syria. And he didn't know it, but at the time, the way he learned how to find these spies would shape the way he now teaches people to interview in the workplace. He's like, I can determine people's motives and their goals and their true intent based on what I learned in the CIA. And I sit there rubbing my chin going, this is absolutely amazing that this guy has applied this serendipitous, not serendipitous, but this clandestine work to the marketplace today, and it works. And he's willing to tell me,
and we get to hear it. That's what's cool. We get those takeaways. That's the utilitarian side.
That's right.
Of your show and the book. And I want to talk about this too. You mentioned, your career on the road. This is fifth book for you, is it?
Fifth book.
Fifth book. So. And I have a library of your other books as well in my office, and generational insights and what you talk about, telling people how you've got boomers working with Gen Xers, working with millennials, and all that. Writing those books versus writing what works, different, the same?
Very different. Very different. Those books are more manuals. They're more guides on how to manage a workplace and a workforce. This book was more of a highlight reel. It was more of a. And I hesitate to use this word, but it was a celebration. It was, here are things that really turned me on.
Yeah.
And I did not expect it, but what I heard was gold, and I'm going to organize it and put it to the book. Those first 4 books were work. And I'm not saying this wasn't, but it was, oh my gosh, you pull up the computer screen and you stare at it until your forehead breaks into blood. And that's the way writing those books was. This one was, the content's already there. All I got to do is organize it and kind of boil it down for the reader. And it was much more of a celebration, and much more of a joy to write. And I feel like it reads that way. It's a light read. It's a quick read.
And I told you off air, we're talking, it was just Jordan, I was talking to Cam Marston. Of course, you know the show, What's Working, the new book, What Works, and we're talking about a chance for folks to come out and meet you in person and do this. But you write this book, I go through it, and I'm reading about these different guests that I've heard on the radio show. But the end, maybe you were talking to me because you sum it all up and you give me bullet points at the end to remind me what things we learned in those chapters and from those stories. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I got good coaching on that. I let a lot of people take a look at this before in the manuscript form, and they gave me some feedback. This is what this needs. This is what this needs. And a great advocate of mine and a great partner in the work that I do, Stephen James, looks at it and says, we need to tie this thing in. If it's going to become a business book like you say it is, then we need to highlight each chapter with the takeaway points. And I went, thank goodness there are people like you out there, Stephen, to help me realize this, because you get so into the weeds. You need somebody from 60,000 feet looking at it going, this is the way to tie each of these things together, make it more valuable.
John, better be more fun than the previous books, but that process of writing, just for a second, everyone come back to that, but the process of writing, you're talking about things that people say they might want to do, but then when it comes time to do it, they don't. Writing, public speaking, I mean, this is what you do for a living. Give me some tips from Cam Marston on writing.
When I struggle to start writing, or when I struggle to capture the idea I want to, I back away from the keyboard and I say it out loud. And it's amazing how simple that is. Once you say it, because your brain, for whatever reason, simplifies it when spoken. Once you say it and then write what you just said, the floodgates don't open, but they begin to open a little bit.
Okay.
So that's one of the things that I've learned. What am I trying to say? Cam, what are you trying to say? I ask myself, aloud in my office or in the home office, and I repeat it. Well, here's what I'm trying to say, and then I start writing that way. Now, I will admit I had a lot of help in writing this book. There are experts out there who can't create ideas, but they can write some other people's ideas, and I pull from them from time to time when I get into a sticky situation. There are people out there that love to stare at a blank page, and their forehead never bursts into blood. I'm the other guy. I'm eager to say it. I'm eager to do the research and to regurgitate it. But writing it can be difficult, so I use those experts, and then I ask myself, what are you trying to say? Say it out loud, and that helps me a great deal.
Yeah, you talked about organization earlier. You're the most organized person I've ever been around in this business, number one.
That's a sad commentary.
You see the bunch
business.
of us, right?
Yeah.
But this man's extremely organized, and you have way you set things up. Makes me wonder: do I picture Cam Marston writing the books like Hemingway in a Guayabera, smoking a cigar, madly typing through the night, just in time to get out to go fishing the next day? Or are you a person that says, 8 a.m. Monday, I write from 8 a.m. till 10 a.m., and then I take which is it?
I love the expression. People say, well, when the muse finds me, I'll begin writing. I need the muse to come whisper in my ear. My attitude is you set an appointment with the muse and you meet them every day.
Okay.
And at 8 a.m., and I learned this from other writers that have been on the show. For example, can't think of his name right now. I can see his face, but he tells me every day between 8 and 11 a.m. he tries to get in 5,000 words or something. Not 5,000. That's way too many. 500 quality words in his writing. Watt Key.
Yeah.
He tries to get in 500 quality words between this time and this time. And some days he goes over, some days he goes under, but he meets the muse at his desk every morning and gets to work.
It's a job then. It's a job instead of this picture we have, this romanticized picture of typing way into the night and you're doing this and it's all happening and then you're off to... you got to clock in.
For most of the people I've met who use writing as work, you got to clock in. Yeah. I mean, there may be stories. I'm sure there are stories where a novel was born out of their head and they banged it out in a day. But I think for most people who rely on the income from writing, it's a job.
It is a job. We're going to come back in more of our conversation about what's working the radio show, but the new book, What Works. Let's talk about this. The 10 best ideas from the first 200 episodes. You have an event coming up at Page and Palette.
Page and Palette. This Saturday from 2 to 4 p.m. I will be signing copies of the book, and I have done these book signings with my business books before and had giant stacks of books surrounding me, and not a soul came. It's one of the most humiliating things is the people walk past you and go, look at that sad man.
I'll say this as we go to the news, we'll come back and talk about more reasons you need to pick up this book. So I got a copy a little bit early through the grace of Cam, and I read it, and I thought as I read it, I said, okay, we're going to buy multiple copies of this because it is a great gift idea, and other people in business, it's like, it's a winner for those. It's a utilitarian, also an entertaining read, and something that you can hand out to peers out there. So it's a winner.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you.
Coming right back.
Your station's been key to it all.
He's too nice. Coming right back. More with Cam right here on Midday Mobile.
This is Midday Mobile with Sean Sullivan on FM Talk 106.5.
Right, welcome back. Midday Mobile, FM Talk 106.5. And it's Cam Marston. Of course, you hear him here at 6 o'clock on Wednesday nights. You also catch the podcast. But now you have a print accompaniment to the show.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. I like the way you say that.
And I said this as we went to the break. This is a good, even if you're not a business owner out there, but if your peers are, and in this world, it's the kind of book, and I read through it very quickly because it reads very quickly.
Designed to read quickly. Yep.
Well, it worked. And you can hand this to folks, and there's takeaway. There's stuff that, it's one of those books that you'll want to highlight something or dog ear a page, that kind of book. And it's good. And these are, I don't know, it's like a master class in people that get it right.
It's a collection. So let's define the title. 10 best ideas from the first 200 episodes. It's not the 10 best episodes. These are ideas that recurred over the first 200 episodes from many different guests, and I would hear the idea again and again and think, now there's a theme here.
Yeah. These people don't know each other. They're not working together. Right.
And there's a theme in these ideas, and when practiced, they tend to lead to success. Now, of course, I'm not interviewing people whose businesses have failed. They're out there, but I'm not putting them on the show.
Well, that wouldn't be compelling.
It wouldn't be compelling. And though all of them, nearly all the guests, even David Bronner last week or the week before said, we should come back and do a show on all the failures I've had. And I'm like, oh, now from you? That would be interesting.
Right.
Yours were probably 10-digit failures when mine are 4 or 5-digit failures or something like that. But it's the ideas that work. When practiced persistently over time, work. And there's nothing in the book, I think, that anyone will read and go, oh my gosh, that is the key to my business success. It is, well, of course, but I've not thought about it that way. Well, of course, but I've not applied this that way. Mm-hmm. Or, you know what, I've seen XYZ business that's been very successful, and I now have some insight into what they're doing that's made them successful based on what I've just read in this book. So it's little reminders of things that we generally know are going to work, but told by the people who have done them and their stories about what makes it work.
You know, I like it too that it is for all folks in business, but from a small business angle, what you call a boutique angle, right? How to grow that beyond. Boutique is a definition because it's narrowly defined, but when you look at a global marketplace, let alone statewide or national, I think like Murder Point, oysters.
Sure.
That story, you're like, yeah, how many oysters can you sell that are premium and cost more than the other oysters in Mobile County? But that's not. You give the numbers of how many of those oysters are traveling all through the country. So there's something that's boutique, sure. But when you take that boutique and apply it to a nation, it's big business.
It is big business, and what a great story that one is. Lane heard about the oyster business, went to a class on it, and has never set foot back on the family shrimp boat since then. Yeah. Now consumed by these Murder Point oysters. But the boutique has an extraordinary value, and that's one of the chapters in the book, is how to create a boutique product or how to emphasize the boutique product, and then how to spread the boutique product around. Our economy is going to mass scale, Amazon, or boutique, Murder Point. And several of the others out there. And Lane has made, and his family, it's not just him, his family, have made this boutique oyster, extraordinary. The name doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
Murder Point catches attention. Lane is one of the most charismatic people I've ever met. That helps when he gets on the camera or something like that. But the attention and the detail and the love, and I've been to his farm. Have you been out there?
Been by it. I've not been with him, but I know.
It's extraordinary.
I know where it is. Yeah.
It's extraordinary, and it ain't easy doing that work.
There's pretty good trout schools.
There sure are. There are.
But it's what you're saying about the scale of things. With technology today, you take something that is boutique, once again, in wherever your geographic footprint is, but you realize that when you apply that around the country or around the Southeast or whatever, that boutique doesn't mean small number of people.
No,
it can mean,
that's a good
it can
point.
be large numbers of people.
It can mean large numbers of people. It's a narrow slice of people,
of a big old pie,
all over the country. And I've had calls recently about taking my show nationwide. You're doing a business show that no one else, that this guy said, is doing. Now, he could have been blowing smoke. I don't know. But
I don't think so.
I've not heard anybody doing this type of show. Maybe you should consider taking it nationwide. And I'm thinking the boutique quality of it could perhaps go nationwide based on the nature of the show. Do I want that? is the workload of the show right now is pretty considerable considering the margins, the revenue made. It's pretty thin.
But when you go nationwide, economies of scale, my friend.
Well,
economies of scale.
So what helps me now is having 220 some odd shows in my background and a book to my name, so that Bank of America might take the call.
They better. Coming right back. More with Cam Marston. The book, we'll talk more about this once again and give you a chance to win some copies this hour. And coming up this weekend, your chance to get a copy signed in person with Cam at Page and Pallet. More straight ahead. Midday Mobile, FM Talk 106.5.
This is Midday Mobile with Sean Sullivan on FM Talk 106.5.
Welcome back. Midday Mobile, FM Talk 106.5. Real treat to get to sit down. It's like we don't get to do it as much anymore with Cam Marston for an hour here. And so Preston says, enjoying this. Cam is the king and the icing on the cake. Get to hear him interviewed. Not the interviewer is just like this. Years ago, I listened to Cam before I became part of the Sean Sullivan cult. Well, thank you. Preston, Florida man says, love Cam Marston. I don't get to listen to everything, but when he does, I try. So there you go. And that's one of the good things, too, about what we're doing. You and I talked about this with radio. So I've been doing this for a year or two. It used to be when I did a show, it's gone into the ether.
Right.
And if you didn't catch it, if you weren't listening at that time when I used to do morning rock radio or whatever, it was gone. We got stuff that people can go back and go, they were talking about this Marquise Forge guy. He sounds really interesting. Go listen to the podcast. Go check out.
Absolutely, yeah. It's amazing that how much content is out there. And I never thought I'd be in the content business.
You are, brother. You are now in the content business.
I'm in the content business, and it's radio shows and it's books, and I do these public radio commentaries once a week, and I never thought it would be me. It's been wonderful. It's been a thrill. These deadlines kill me and elate me at the same time, but I'm in the content business, and it's all out there forever.
Yeah.
I sound like the father talking to their child. Once you post it, it's out there forever. Now my shows and my commentaries are out there forever. And
that's true.
A lot to live up to,
There is some grace that I didn't have that early on.
Yeah. I could, there's some slips that I could make, and suddenly someone would point to one of those commentaries or radio show going, I remember when you said this to this guest, and you are absolutely a hypocrite and a liar. I'm like, man, I could have told you that without you going back into the archives.
I want to ask you about putting together the radio show and putting together the book. Of course, remind folks, too, they're just tuning in, their chance to come and get an autograph here and a copy of what works.
2 to 4 p.m., Page and Pallet in Fairhope. I heard today also it's available at the Haunted Bookshop downtown.
That's a cool
Dolphin
store,
Street.
too, man.
Yeah.
That's a cool store.
Yeah. You call them, I really dislike the way I sound. When I call, for example, this morning, the Haunted Bookshop, somebody reached out and said, where can I get your book locally? And I called Haunted Bookshop, and I said, my name is Cam Marston, and I'm a local author, and I just want to make sure you're carrying my book. I'm thinking, you just sound like the most egotistical, I would dislike you if someone were to call me and say that. But I'm going, I wrote this thing. I got to get it to the marketplace. I can't hide it.
Yeah, you should be fine with how you sound. There's been huge crowds and in person, big radio audiences, and now and readers that are pretty cool with it. So,
well, I still feel somewhat self-conscious by that, and I think it's both a good and a bad thing. But anyway, yeah, those podcasts they last forever. You can find all the different podcast platforms, and more of them seem to keep coming. I'd focus on what I think are the largest 5. And I will admit that I look too compulsively at downloads to see whether the show was well liked and forwarded, etc.
If you don't do that, then you don't care about your work.
Oh,
it's a real thing.
Yeah,
that's normal. I want to. Okay, so we'll come back to the play-by-play here for a second, but I want to ask some broader, sweeping questions as you look forward to more episodes of What's Working, and you're going through, all the different possibilities of guests. You had Bronner on before, but you got to fill each week. You get another guest. What compels you to book this person next week and not in 2 months, or say no to this person? Is it utilitarian because you think this is the hot subject right now that this business person can apply to? Is it artistic because you think the story and narrative is compelling? What goes into your formula?
I wish I had science behind this, but what it is first the guest has to, in their expertise, has to interest me. That's simply
okay. So they're the artistic side. Okay,
it has to interest me, and I get requests over email fairly frequently from people who say, "This is my business, and I want to be on your show." And I think I'm not here to promote you.
Right.
A promotion's going to happen. But I'm not here to promote you. I'm here to hear your story. And if I feel your story will be helpful to other people, not just you, then I'm going to consider it. Got an email just the other day from an arborist works over in Fairhope, who has some remarkable information on urban trees design and what we're missing in this. I'm like, all right, I'm all in.
Right.
This is interesting to me. So first and foremost, it has to be interesting to me. Finding 52 people a year for the shows, you know what I'm talking about, times 10, I guess, can be a little bit stressful, considering this is not the way I earn my living. This is is your side. It's a side gig that makes a little money, but not much, but a side gig. So finding these people can be a little bit stressful. But as the show has developed legs and developed notoriety, I'll give you an example. Earlier this week, I had a call with the Culverhouse College of Business, and they have they have Hall of Fame business inductees every year for the state of Alabama. And we are very early into, it is not a done deal, but making a part of the induction into the Hall of Fame a interview on the radio show. If that were to come, it would mean 8 or 10, maybe I think 7 or 8, I don't know how many guests per year that come as a result of their induction into the Alabama State Business Hall of Fame, as well as their archive of previous winners that I could reach into. So there's a little bit of, wow, that's content that I need. Yeah. There's a little bit of, these are vetted people who have a story to tell, and many of them probably also have a following, which is important as well.
Sure.
Finding people who are popular to other listeners certainly helps the show gain popularity.
Yeah, and that's part of it that you get is it's entertainment.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's the artistic and a utilitarian. I mean, and I want to ask on that, when you go into an interview and you go, okay, here's this person, they do this, do you already have an idea what techniques you want to pull from them, or do they come up, and how often are your preconceived notions, if you have them, reinforced? To how many times do you go, well, that's not how I thought they would do it, but that's interesting?
I usually have a target direction for the show. Segment 1 is tell me your story. Segment 2, all right, so the show has 5 segments. Segment 1 is me opening the content. Segment 2 is me meeting the guest. And segment 2 is usually tell me your story. Segment 3 is tell me what it is about your work that will help my listeners. And segment 4 is what do you foresee of the future of your work? What do you see of the future of this conversation? And then segment 5 is me alone on the show, recapping what I've just heard and doing all the promotional stuff for the next show and all that kind of stuff. So segments 2, 3, and 4 are the content portions of it, and they're between 10 and 11 and a half minutes, meaning you're going to get 33 to 35 minutes of content. And more often than not, the content goes the direction that I direct it, largely because the guest is somewhat nervous and needs me to lead them.
Right.
But every now and then I get whammied.
Okay.
And
This is what I want to hear
the
about.
whammies.
Okay.
I love the whammies because my show is pre-recorded.
Yeah.
And we can hit the pause button and reboot, though we very, very, very seldom do. I like it running all the way through. But the whammies are the ones that catch me off guard and go, I never thought about that. And it's that moment of discovery of a new idea entering into my head that I hadn't considered before that absolutely intoxicates me about what it is that I do. That moment of discovery is unbeatable in any way. And it's what I like so much about all my work is discovering something new.
You're a curious guy, obviously, to do what you do in the research you do. You're a curious guy about business, but also I can tell from the people you get about people.
Yeah. I want to hear. I want to know what makes them tick. I want to know their motivations, their backgrounds, what led them into whatever it is they do. My curiosity, I'll admit it, can be a problem from time to time.
How's that?
Well, because and the book goes into this story. I have been kicked out of tours, and one that I cite in the book is at the Biltmore House in Asheville. When in the second room of like a 30-room tour, we were already an hour behind schedule, and the tour guide said, "Sir, you need to get to the back of the line or get out of this tour." I've never had more questions.
You keep going like, "What's this room for? What are they doing here?"
Well, the one that I said, "Well, where did they get all this limestone to build this thing?" Because I don't think limestone naturally occurs in the Appalachian Mountains, which means they had to get it from somewhere else. And on top of that, this is on top of a hill. So they brought the limestone up the hill. How did they get the... And she looked at me and said, we've had enough. Which I thought were legitimate questions. I was going, this is pretty solid content, Cam. You're asking great questions here.
The tour guide did not see it the same way?
No, she was on an agenda. We need to move through here. I've got another tour waiting.
We've got a gazillion rooms to look at here, Marston.
Right. And you're talking about mortar and limestone. Did they use tabby to build this thing? Like, oh my Lord!
And I'd have been on that tour with you, been like, come on, man, I want to get down to the the big Christmas tree they have in the atrium. Then we get the pictures made and we'll go home.
Yeah. I turn around and everybody in the tour is rolling their eyes, going, this is my vacation too, pal.
As you look forward with the show too, and the kind of guest, do you have a dream guest, ultimate get?
I love the artists. So though the artists are not the core of the show, when I can find the artists that are I say it, and I can't prove this, but I feel like the artists kind of have the soul of our society. So when I can find the artist and hear their motivations, that's when I truly love. And I am working hard to get Rick Bragg. So I consider he's an author, and I just finished his book on Jerry Lee Lewis last night, and I just want to hear him tell. He's told his story a million times, but I want to hear it differently. I want to hear my answer. I want him to answer my questions about his story. So that's right now my dream guest is Rick Bragg, and I sent him a book. I emailed him last night, told him how much I liked the Jerry Lee Lewis book. I'm doing everything
I'm in
I
Alabama.
I'm in Alabama. Yeah. I can come to Tuscaloosa if you'd like me to, but yeah, he'd be my favorite guest. I so admire his work. His ability to string a sentence together is unparalleled.
And paint pictures in minds.
Absolutely.
He does a great job. On the that's in the artist side. On the business side, I wonder is there a point that somebody, maybe there's like a Elon Musk or somebody like that. Is there somebody like that you go, their story maybe has some of the same points you've gotten from other business owners and people successful in business, but there's a lot of people that are really good at it, and then there's an Elon Musk or something. What did he do differently,
I haven't thought about somebody on that level. I just don't find them. I think you get into a level of celebrity like that, and that doesn't interest me as much. I want somebody that's on my show that's humbled and proud and a little bit nervous to be there versus someone that would come in and say, this is beneath me. Or, if you're not CNN, I don't want your show or something like that. But it's the normal guy with a normal story to tell, with a different story to tell about a successful business. But I'm not looking for the celebrity guest. For some reason, that doesn't appeal to me right now. It may become an ego thing where I got to go get the big ones in order to remain on the air. But right now, it's somebody. It's like this guy with the CIA that's on tonight. Yeah, it's like the arborist from Fair. He didn't ever expect to be on the radio, and he's just delighted, and I find his story extraordinarily compelling. Those are the people where my heart goes out to and say, I want you to come on and tell your story.
The thing is, in telling these stories, as you get these people to tell their stories, like in the book, there's an interesting story that would just be a story, but all along the way, I mean, if we're paying attention and we read at the end, when you summarize everything, we're getting applicable information. You read Rick Bragg's book; it's great and entertaining. But at the end of it, I don't really have anything I'm going to go use in my business the next day.
I'm going to highlight through it. Going, one of these days I'm going to write a sentence like this. One of these days I'm going to write a sentence as beautiful as this one. But no, and I don't think that's his goal. His goal is to entertain.
No, that's not. That's what I'm saying.
But
you do both.
I'm trying to get a story that'll help the listener get, as I say over and over again, a little bit better at whatever it is they do.
How we'll probably talk about this more when we come back from the news. You are putting people in business in our community and around the country together in kind of a format that somebody's been on the show or heard the show or this or that. How are we as a market, as a area for being interconnected in business? We have chambers of commerce and breakfast dinners and all that stuff, but you've been around the world, let alone around the country. Are we connected here? Better, normal? I mean,
I lived in Charlotte for 15 years prior to moving back to Mobile. Born and raised here, 15 years in Charlotte and moved back. And Charlotte had a interconnected business community that I was with right there. And I had been there long enough to know that it was interconnected. So I feel like we're typical. However, I feel like people in Mobile really want to cover each other's back. And I don't know why that is. If I say somebody from Mobile, I'd like you to meet them because I think you could help them out, both parties typically jump up and say, I'd be happy to.
It's a good thing to hear. Coming right back.
Yeah.
More with Cam Marston. We'll talk more about the book available now, and you can get a signed copy this weekend.
This is Midday Mobile with Sean Sullivan on FM Talk 106.5.
At 153 FM Talk 106.5 and Midday Mobile. So I don't have the depth of insight that my guest and friend Cam Marston does, but I do have this pro tip for you. How about this one? It's easier to organize fewer things. That's where my buddy Trey with 1-800-GOT-JUNK comes in handy. If fewer things, organize more quickly. You following me? It could be things inside your house that are junk you don't need in your way. It could be things outside. I mean, people get this idea like, well, I don't know how I'm going to move the swing set or the storage building in the backyard. Trey's got that. Also, storage units, houses you're getting ready to sell, anything that's junk, you need it gone. You need 1-800-GOT-JUNK. You make an appointment online or over the telephone, and they make a good old-fashioned appointment. They find the day that works for you, the window of time. They know you got family and work and things to do. They show up when they say they will. And then you just point at the junk, and they'll quote you a price. If you say yes, they get it done right then. So check them out online, 1-800-GOT-JUNK.com, or pick up the phone. The name is the number, 1-800-GOT-JUNK. Continue our conversation with Cam Marston. Of course, you know what's working, the radio show, but what works? The book is out now, and you have a chance to get signed copies coming up on Saturday, right?
Saturday, 2 to 4 p.m., Page and Pallet. That's right.
Or, and I hate to do this, but there might be 4 less people showing up because let's do the first 4 callers at 343-0106. Your copy of Cam's new book, 343-0106. Can we get signatures on those?
Word has it that my signature in the book will actually reduce the value of the book. However, I will sign it if they want to. Absolutely. Sure.
All right. So yeah, we'll have 4 copies here. So the Dalton, if you just do it the first 4 at 343-0106, we'll have the copy of the book here at the station. You can come by and pick it up. Also, you said if somebody wants to check out like a sampler here, your favorite chapter of the book?
My favorite chapter of the book, at this point, it's already moved a couple of different times, but it's chapter 8. It's called Serve People, Not Product. In that chapter, I feature a local guy, Ty Bullard. He talks about how he serves people. I talk about United Bank out of Atmore, Alabama, and how their goal is to serve people. And their business is the medium through which they do it. Ty serves people. Cars is how they do it. United Bank serves people. Banking products is how they do it. And that's become a big thing in the times of the Great Resignation. These are organizational cultures that are recruiting and retention tools. And that's why this chapter has become my favorite. And if you want a copy of Chapter 8, email me, cam@cammarston.com. Again, Cam, C-A-M, at cammarston.com. Just put Chapter 8 in the subject title, and I'll attach it as a PDF and send it to you.
It's good stuff. And that's a whole other part we didn't have time to talk about. We talk about what makes businesses successful, these decisions they make, but what makes a business successful are the people that work there, and you got to keep them.
And that's become, as you know, a big issue in our climate today.
Yes.
I did a workshop locally yesterday focusing on recruiting and retention, getting them and keeping them once you got them. It's become a big, big issue, as I know everybody out there knows that right now. So workplace culture, which prior to COVID I would have rolled my eyes at, today is like, I didn't realize how important that was. And in the process of doing these interviews, I stumbled across 2 or 3 businesses that do it well, and I'm going to make sure they're highlighted.
Good. And like all your work, we can take away specific things because we get the stories that are interesting. But what I love about what Cam does here is you get things you can go, I'm going to do that thing. I'm going to pick that idea or that idea.
That's one idea. I want to hear people say, that's one idea I applied the next day.
Yeah.
That's one idea I could do very quickly and make a change in my workplace. I'm like, that's what I'm here for. That's what I love to hear. That's when I know that I feel like my work is helping. And it's amazing how important that's become to make you feel like my work is helping. The radio show is helping. It entertains for a little while, and it gives people things that they can do.
Let's talk about, once again, the radio show. So guest tonight,
last name Mobley. I think his first name escapes me. Mobley, in fact, is the way he pronounces it. He lives in San Diego. I met him at a conference in South Carolina not long ago. He teaches interviewing skills that he learned while being a recruiter an espionage recruiter for the CIA. He teaches them now in a corporate world to get to the true heart of the individual who they are interviewing, to find if they'll be a fit and what their potential is for retention in the workplace.
It's pretty strong medicine to have a CIA guy, the person who's recruiting the clandestine folks. His
PhDs are from Harvard, Stanford, and Georgetown. PhDs.
Smart kid.
No kidding. Perhaps the most educated person ever on the show. I was terribly intimidated by having him on the show. However, as I find so often, really nice, humble, grateful guy.
Good stuff. I want to congratulate Ashley, Adam, Clint, and Jennifer. All won copies of What Works. And if you were not named in that list, once again, your chance to pick it up. You can get it signed and meet you at Page and Pallet. But it's also for sale if we can't make that Saturday window.
It's on sale at Amazon right now, but it's also for sale at Haunted Bookstore.
All right.
On Dolphin Street downtown.
Pick up a copy and check out the radio show every Wednesday night here at FM Talk 106.5. Always a pleasure, man. Glad we got to hang out.
Thank you, Sean. Thanks very much.
Paul Feinbaum on the way next. Talk to y'all tomorrow.